first off, I want to introduce Sarah Cook. She's our new administrative assistant. But that'll also be part of my comments to you too on here. So right now, Katie Kirkpatrick is the clerk for both boards, the road and the parks. And so my suggestion to the board is that you allow us to basically identify her as a deputy clerk, which would then, with an emphasis on the park. So when she gets spun up to speed and is comfortable with everything, she will take over the parks. You know, sitting here doing the clerk's position, but that will allow either one of them to, if they're not here, they can swap out. They're both listed on the paperwork for, you know, financial wise as clerks. They can take care of both, and if one needs to cover the other, they can. So that would be one suggestion to you for that. So anyway, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's see. We probably will be bringing a policy to the board. I don't know if it'll be the next meeting or two, to address how and when or if we take roads into our system. So we've had a few requests here lately of, it's mainly, I want to say, like either new subdivisions going in or wanting us to take over a private road. What criteria are we going to set to, what standard does it have to be before we take it into our system? Normally you bring it up to an MDOT spec, you know, and I would say a paved road, because I don't know if we really want to accept any more gravel roads into our system. We have enough gravel roads as it is. But really that'll be something I'll need to work with you as to what direction you guys want to go with. But I think being with the questions that we're getting asked from a couple different places, we need to address that, because there's really no good policy established as to what standard they have to meet.
I guess I'm a little surprised to hear that, because I thought there was some sort of a policy that had been in place for a long time.
It's probably 30 years old.
Yes, like the only thing I could
What it's
find was
been.
like back in like 98 or something like that. And it really isn't very clear. It's not current.
So it was more of a tradition rather than a
Yeah.
written, spelled out
Yes.
policy.
Yes.
The tradition has been.
And I think we need a spelled out policy
Yeah.
to,
I agree.
because otherwise we're gonna get stuck with some roads that are like, and that's what happened back in the day, was Old Horse Pass got some gravel thrown on them and said, here's the road. And then they got turned over to the county road commissions. Now we gotta deal with the base wasn't right, you know, all this. So to accept the road, I think we need to have a spec of this is what the base has to be, this is what the surface has to be. Once it's in that condition, then yes, we should look at taking it over and adding it to our mileage for our Act 51 funding and all that. But to take over something that you know a few years down the road you're gonna have a maintenance problem with is and always has been a bad practice.
Right.
So I wanna go through, find a couple of the local policies on that, and I'll be bringing that back to you just so that you know. That's just to see, no, no action right now. All right, so the second round of Brine, we're almost done with it. They should be doing Adams Township today and getting that done. And then we've got Somerset Township, and that's the last of the second round of Brine. Fayette has asked for a third round. They're asking after the 1st of September timeframe to do their third round, and we'll be done with all the Brine for this year.
We haven't done a second round in years, let alone a third.
Yeah.
Well, only I think 6 or 7 townships asked for a second round, only one asked for a third, so it's not, it kind of dwindled down.
Right.
But it took us a long time to haul the gravel to get that first round done, but we'll tweak that next year to speed that up a little bit too. Let's see, Elm Road Bridge, just south of Egypt, is now closed. I sent y'all I think a text to inform you, so at least you knew. With the MDOT inspection and recommendations on that inspection, said that if we couldn't control the traffic on that bridge, that it needed to be closed. And we controlled it as best we could by narrowing it down to a center lane and with cement barriers, and it still didn't seem to stop the heavier loads going across, so we elected to close it. It'll be closed until such time as we can get funding to replace it. So, the Dennings Road culvert, they've been installing that, should be done today, so that one will be back open after today. And after that, they'll be moving over to the Mead Road culvert and basically doing the same thing, they're replacing the Dennings. The culverts were sitting there, they're ready to go, and just need the crew to move over and keep working. Let's see. Along with all the grading and stuff, they do have those 2 township left. We've got Adams scraped, they just have to brine it, and you still need to scrape Somerset. And other than that, the graders are out trying to catch like the washouts from some of these rains and just some rough spots to spot grade, and that's what they're doing with the rest of the graders.
It's not, excuse me, it's not too wet to brine today?
No, the little bit, and I told them to contact the Corrigan, the contractor, that if there's standing water and stuff, yeah, they need to hold off, but if there's not standing water, a little bit of moisture on the gravel roads actually helps it soak in. So, as long as it's not too much, yes, they can still, and with this wind, and I think all the rain's gone for today, as long as there's not standing water, like where the berm has to get
Right,
pulled off,
Right,
they should be okay.
and the water this evening won't, once it's spread, the water this evening wouldn't be a problem.
No, so.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's see, I guess, Gary, you'd asked, to have some millings put on Pittsford Road. We have put some gravel on there right now, and they're gonna work on, I guess, then topping that with some millings. They filled in the shoulder holes and ruts and stuff, and then we're gonna try to put some millings on top of that, but, so they're working that, I just wanted to let you know that that's in the process. I'm in the process of sending Jefferson Township a contract to, work on the Tripp Road culvert. We're hoping to, we've got the culvert specs that supposedly Eagle is okay with. We're waiting for a final approval from John Scabina to say, yep, that is what you can go with, go ahead and order the tube, and then we'll get the permits in the meantime. So, once we get that, we've already got the estimates, we already got everything, all we gotta do is then order the tube for that and Beecher. Tripp Road is a local road, so that takes a match to put that one in, and that's why I was sending the contract. I talked to Jefferson Township's supervisor, he seemed to be okay with it, he said send us a contract, the next board meeting they'll decide what they wanna do. So we'll know that soon. Beecher Road's totally on us, so I wanna get them both ordered at the same time, so hopefully we can, and then as soon as we get them ordered, Beecher Road comes in, we can put that in probably after we get done with any of the others.
I got, just about from my understanding, if that culvert had failed, is that 100% on us, even if it's on a local road? No, the township still has to match.
Anything over a 36 inch has to have a match.
Okay, thank you.
Under a 36 is totally on us.
Okay, under.
On a primary, totally on us.
Yep.
I should say 36 and under is on us. So if it's over the 36, then it goes to the match. Let's see, the paint program for the local roads, we're working that right now. And basically, the plan for this year is gonna be to basically hit all the roads that we painted over the last 2 years, or actually the last 3. If they haven't been hit in those 3 years, they're gonna get hit this year. And along with the hub, all the primary roads that we paint every year will always get painted. Those, along with all the paint markings, the railroad crossings, the stop bars. So all that's gonna get done this year, and it's pushing about 220,000. I think the board approved 250. So I think we're gonna sit about 225,000 to do paint. Which, like I said, is gonna cover hopefully everything that hasn't been painted in 3 years, the normal primary roads, and anything that we're paver patch and chip sealing, you know, covering up the lines this year, and some from last year that will get painted. So hopefully we're gonna catch up to here to where then we'll be on hopefully a quarterly, you know, basis where once every 4 years, a quarter of the county will get painted along with the primaries.
So
hopefully
that should catch the road.
that should, yep, and I'll make sure that's,
Okay.
we've got maps that we're going through right now with Mastermind as a program that we use. And we'll get with the contractor to make sure that's added in there, or that's already part of it. Same kind of program with brush spraying. I met with the Dalton agency, they're the ones that do our spray. They, as you know, they did the guardrail spraying earlier this spring, so that's the springtime thing that they do for guardrail. This fall, they'll come around and then do the brush spraying. Again, we're gonna do like a quarter of the county and try to do that to where every 4 years it gets sprayed. They do have a new approved, water-based, water-friendly spray, so they're licensed to spray that even around wetlands and stuff like that. It does take longer to do the brownout, so they normally do that in the fall, so that it kind of blends with the fall leaves changing and stuff, so it doesn't stand out to people as bad. And then this water base takes longer to act, so it actually will blend in a little bit better than what it has in the past. But so we've scheduled for about a quarter of the county for this year, and again, if we do a quarter, hopefully try to beat back some of this brush along with our mowers and swing arm mowers and all that.
So when you schedule a quarter of the county, are you gonna do it township by township or specific roads?
I basically drew out a map for them, and we basically picked like certain roads that they'll do those specific roads and everything in there. And so
Okay.
the next one they'll, you know, and so it's not necessarily township by township,
Right.
but there's just boundary roads that we picked to
Okay.
make it easy for them, easy to designate.
Okay.
Let's see. Just so you know, we've done a little bit of equipment / people swapping with Jackson lately. We've had our grade all, the grade all in Jackson broke, and it's gonna be down for a while. We had our grade all up there digging up some roots on one of their project roads, actually 2 of their project roads, where they had the trees cut, but needed the stumps removed to be able to widen the road a little bit. So we sent our grade all along with an operator, and then hooked onto they call it an ice pit, but it's basically a big cloth. And they just pop the roots that go out from the stump, they just pop that and then roll it out of the way. That's how they remove the roots. So over a few weeks, he cleared off 2 roads. I think today he's done. He'll be filling in the holes from the roots today. And then Monday, we'll go back up, get the grade all, bring it back. We're gonna keep the ice cloth, the ice pick with it. That way, we've got a couple of roads on our projects that need trees removed, and we'll be able to use their pick to do the same thing, and help out down here. Additionally to that, they're asking if we can send a grader up to them for about 3 weeks to finish their brine, because they're trying to finish their second round of brine, and they've had some graders go down. They're having very bad luck with the graders. So in trade of that, if we can work it out, we're gonna bring down their mill to mill Montgomery Road that we were talking about, that mile stretch. Because if we're gonna put a 3.5-inch overlay, you wind up with a big hump at both ends.
Right.
And so they'll be able to mill the butt joint and taper it off on both directions. They'll bring the mill down, do that in 1 day, and so we'll get that in kind of a trade, but we'll direct charge for everything. So there's no, oh, we'll trade you this for this, and nobody really knows how much anything costs. Whatever their labor, equipment and stuff costs, they're gonna charge us. Whatever it costs them to have our grader and grade off, we're charging them. You know, so it's a direct charge. It will equal out basically, but just so there's no question, and we can show everything, it's a direct bill to both counties. We're also gonna try to bring down at least 1, if not 2 flow boys to help with our chip seal and or possibly even putting on shoulders. One flow boy that they've got can basically haul and you do the same amount of work that 5 tandems can do. So that frees up 5 guys or 4 or 5 guys for one flow boy. You know, they can go a lot farther without having to stop and hook and unhook and all that with a chip spreader.
So their tractor will be pulling it, or?
Yes, yes. So they're all set up with their wet kits and everything, and they'll bring down a tractor and a flow boy. They'll hook up to that'll be the thing, is can our chip spreader hook up to the hitch?
Oh,
That's on.
yeah, different.
But I think they're basically the same, but if that works, who knows, maybe that's something we can do in the future for both. But just so you know, we're swapping some things back and forth.
All right, question on the grader.
Yep.
If we have gravel roads with berms that have issues, do we have the freedom to give a grader to Jackson for 3 weeks?
I think it's kind of a, what can we get out of it, more of a thing. I think we benefit more for doing that, because we'll still have 3 graders here to work with what we need to work with. But getting that mill, other than that, you're gonna contract it, and it's gonna be costly to bring a mill in. Between the mill and or getting the flow boy, I think it's well worth our while. And we do have 3 other graders that we can keep working on and at that point, they'll be like basically grading up the roads to keep them in shape. There's only 1 grader that's gonna be in front of the burn crew to cut that out. So that leaves 2 to keep scratching things up and 1 up there, so.
So we think that covers us pretty well, and
I
we
would.
gain more than we lose,
I would, yes. I would say
is
we
what
would.
the feeling, or the analysis is. Okay, thank you.
Let's see. We have been processing gravel at the Watkins pit. They're moving along really good. I think he's got at least 2 cones done, which is probably about 10,000 yards. We took samples last week and I took them over to Jackson, to Charlie, to run some sieve analysis on them just to make sure what we're calling, if it's 23A, 22A, exactly what's getting made. Cody, the guy that is doing it from the excavation company, basically said with the gravel that he's using out of that Watkins pit is making far better gravel than what they've been making over at Branch, just because of the difference in gravel in the 2 pits. So he's very pleased with what's coming out of it. We're gonna test it and see how it comes out. That way we can tell everybody this is what we're using on the roads and that it meets specs that we need.